Good evening, everyone. This is Niyi Adewole, host of the Akaba Home Financial Freedom Mastermind Group, and I'm so excited to be joining you here on the first day of February. It's crazy that it's already February and that time is flying so quickly. And this is going to be one of those group sessions again where we allow a lot of the mastermind group members to join and have an open dialogue. But before we get to that, there's two things that were on the top of my mind today that I just wanted to cover and kind of jumpstart the conversation before we start letting people in and letting people join. The first is the importance of contracts. Okay. A lot of times, especially if you're looking to partner with friends or family or things of that nature on an investment, you can skimp over the contract piece. You can say, hey, I know this person. I'm not going to do a contract. I'm just going to do a handshake type of deal. But I highly recommend that no matter what type of business arrangement you're getting into, that you put it on paper and you go through the process of putting a contract in place. Highly important. And what it forces you to do is have the tough conversations up front before something potentially goes sour, right? You never go into a relationship thinking, hey, this is going to end bad, but you should always prepare for what does that look like in a worst case scenario. And so the whole point of a contract is to be able to have a conversation up front with somebody about, hey, do's, don'ts, expectations, to put it down on paper so that when you do kind of enter into that relationship, you're both very clear on what's being provided, what's not, and on what potential consequences are for things not happening. And so that was on top of my mind. And the other piece is that real estate in general is about problem solving. And the problems don't necessarily go away. It doesn't matter how long you've been in the game. I've been in the game since 2016, which is crazy. It's been 7 years, 7 years at some point this year that I've been in the game of real estate investing. And the problems don't actually go away. You just get stronger. You develop more mental fortitude and you're able to address them a lot quicker because you've been through something similar and you have the contacts that can get you through it. And so it's almost like going to the gym and lifting weights, right? The weights don't get lighter the more you go to the gym. It's just you get stronger and now you can lift heavier weights and take on bigger challenges without having that fear factor. And so just a couple words of encouragement before individuals start jumping in. And while we're waiting for a couple members of the group to join, I've got some cool news. The next 2 weeks, or at least 2 of the weeks in February, we have some guests, our first guests of 2023 coming on. One of them is a former teammate, I'll tease it a little bit, that actually played in the NFL and is heavily involved in real estate. The other is a rock star lender that lends in all 50 states that is able to really deliver a lot of value from there. Here we go. David, what is up, man?
Hey, how's it going, Nee?
Super good. Super good. Welcome to the Financial Freedom Mastermind Group.
Thank you. Yeah, I know we talked earlier on the phone. I just want to thank you again for the opportunity to, just be a part of this mastermind and just kind of start meeting like-minded people as I start my real estate journey. So I just kind of want to introduce myself to the group, if that's all right. Just kind of what I'm looking to do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So first of all, I just want to say, I just met Niyi today over the phone. So it's nice to meet face to face. And I've seen that, he does a podcast and that you guys have these mastermind groups, and that I just think it's awesome what you guys are doing here. And I'm very appreciative to be a part of it starting tonight with this call. And so I just want to introduce myself. I'm David Retneller. I just graduated from Georgia Tech this past May. There's a proof right there. And so I graduated with a computer science degree, and I've been working since July at a software company, but I'm looking to get into real estate I want to start investing. And so the past couple months, I've kind of figured out what my game plan is, and I want to get started from the point that I'm at, which is, kid just out of college, 22 years old, don't have a lot of money. I'm looking to get started with creative financing in multifamily properties, residential or commercial. I know definitely long-term, I want to be like commercial, larger properties, like 50 plus units, like down the road. But right now I'm just looking to, meet people, be able to get my first deal done. I'm looking to build credibility through doing deals. So yeah, it's just great to be here. And I'm looking forward to meeting you guys and hearing about, the experience you guys have, what you guys are looking to do in 2023, and just kind of be a part of this community. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And David, It's inspiring to see that somebody who recently graduated, 22, is getting after it the way that you are and wanting to start big. I can tell you that it took me till 24 to get the first one. I was like, all right, that's around the time that my mind was kind of coming around to, hey, this investing thing may be a good idea long term. And so with that in mind, right, what helped form and shape your mindset? How long have you been thinking and kind of moving toward this direction?
Yeah, so I'd say the past couple of years, really, like it's kind of just been an evolving thing over the past couple of years, and I've only just recently kind of found my focus and, figured out that the avenue I want to go down is multifamily property investing. Yeah, I'd say about the past 2 years, I've just known, like I've started learning about passive income, right? Like I want to be financially free. Like that's my whole motivation, right? Is I want to have the freedom to not have to be at a job Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. That's, first and foremost. And second of all, I want to retire my parents just because they've done so much for me. And I want to be able to, the typical things that people usually say that come with financial freedom. That's just really, entrepreneurship and all this stuff really just has been kind of like, I guess, calling me the past couple years. So, and it's good to finally kind of have a sense of direction on where I'm going. And so I guess to more specifically answer your question in terms of real estate, I've known that I've heard, real estate is just like the way to go, right? Like it's been tried and true. Everybody's always going to need a place to live. And so in the past 2 months, I've really started, focusing. Like when I started work, it was easy to get distracted, like meeting a whole new group of friends essentially at work. But the past 2 months I've kind of like focused up, like tried to figure out how I'm actually going to make it happen, because I know that it's going to take a lot of work. And so I joined like a mentorship program about a month ago to learn about, OPM and like creative financing. And so I've joined that community, kind of learn from them about what they're doing. And so, yeah, I guess it's in terms of the specifics of finding my direction, it's been very recent, but I've known for a long time that it's, entrepreneurship and, building something of my own is what I've wanted to do for a long time.
Well, hey, I love it. And we are rooting for you, man. And I know that you're looking to start big, going, for more of a multifamily 5+ units and trying to leverage creative financing and other people's money and things of that nature. And it's definitely a pathway that you can take and be successful. We've heard on different podcasts, different people that have been able to jump into the deep end and kind of get it going. I think you have the right mindset for it. The key to your point is finding that first deal and getting that first person to really, trust you and agree to kind of let you be the one to take that piece over. Right. And so I don't know if you've been working toward like meeting other multifamily investors, maybe some people that are older in their career looking to kind of wind down. Does that group kind of get you involved with some individuals like that could potentially be the first deal?
Yeah, no, that'd be awesome. I'm going to I haven't, like, this is one of my, first events that I've gone to. I've signed up for a couple of ones that are coming up in February. There's one actually a week from today. It's a multifamily event. It's like my friend told me about it because he's a lender. So yeah, I just know that I'm looking forward to, learning from you guys, learning from that event, definitely trying to meet as many people as possible, put the word out there that like, I'm looking to be the hardest working partner that anybody's ever had. I can't be the money partner yet, but, I'll be definitely the hardest working partner anybody's met. So that's, what I'm looking to do. And I'm just happy to, start meeting people such as you guys that have a similar mindset and are in the Atlanta area.
Love it, man. Love it. Alpha, how you doing?
I'm doing good, man. I wanted to say a couple of things and ask both of you guys a question. The first thing, David, congratulations on starting this journey at 22. That's a really good milestone. It gives you a pretty good head start to kind of take your journey and hit the path running and give you a good chance to make mistakes and learn and just grow as a person. One thing that I'll say, I'll recommend that books that you read would be Richest Man in Babylon. It's a really good book. It's about 90 pages. And they show like 10 really fundamental steps about money that I think are really good. And then once you get through that book, a better in-depth book would be Money Master the Game. And that's another book to kind of understand.
Awesome.
Kind of understand money to directly with diversification and allocation. And then a real estate book that I have read in the past year was the book on rental property investing by Brandon Turner, which was pretty good. Probably read about 2 other ones that were basic. And I wanted to ask Niyi, what real estate books did you read that you thought were pretty good? And also, David, I wanted you to eventually elaborate more on this OPM group that you joined.
Dude, so books, Plenty of them. There's a whole row that I recommend a lot, but the ones that I recommend the most, one of them you mentioned, man, Richest Man in Babylon, 90 pages, amazing book. That's what really got my first financial like planning. Like, hey, I could save 10% toward, myself. I could pay myself 10% with $100, right? If I can't do it with that and still live off of 90%, then I'm probably doing something wrong. So that's an amazing book. I'd say once you start moving into more like that entrepreneur space, you have more than say 1 unit, get 2 units, 3 units, profit first. It's like edition 2 of Richest Man in Babylon, where they actually break down how to systematize everything else within there. And then I'd say Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? Which everybody says. Rich Dad Poor Dad helped with the mindset. Richest Man in Babylon helped with, hey, here goes some basics for how you can save financially toward your future. And then Profit First, with the different businesses that I'm currently involved in, has helped tremendously in making sure that each of them are profiting first. And I'm not just, making money on a spreadsheet. It's actual money in your hand. But David, what about that OPM group, man? How'd you find out about that? And who's, can you share who's leading that group?
I mean, I think so. Yeah. I'm sure they'd be happy for a referral. Yeah. So it's a group that I joined because like they got started using other people's money, financing these deals. And the reason behind joining the group was because I wanted to learn from other people's mistakes, right? Like I'm not afraid of failure. Like I want to fail as soon as possible because I know that I'm moving in the right direction. But at the same time, if I can learn from what other people didn't know going into their first deal, if I know that type of stuff, it can, help me move faster. And so, yeah, so their names are Mel and Dave. They're Canadians. I don't know. They go by Investor Mel and Dave on like Instagram. I found them through social media. I had looked into them for, I'd seen them as just one of the accounts that I followed for like months, maybe probably even a year. And then, yeah, I've never, like in the past 2 months, as I've kind of started focusing on what I wanted to do, I figured out this, program would be like exactly what I want. It's definitely it costs like a decent bit to be in the program, but like I have no problem investing in myself because I know that it's hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of knowledge, I feel like. And so just putting myself on that path, I was like, at first I was a little bit nervous, but then I was like, no, like I think this is the right investment to make. So I made that investment in myself, and I'm confident that whatever comes from it is up to me. So that's a group that I joined, and like so far, I mean, from all the stuff that I've learned and like being a part of that community, like it's been great, and I'm looking forward to getting the first deal. And one of their things is they want you to, their goal for each student that they have is to get a property within 90 days. And so I think I'm like 20 something days in, 20 or 30 days in about. So, trying to do good on that goal. But they do specialize more in like smaller multifamily properties, like duplexes to fourplexes, but then they go up to like, smaller like apartment buildings. So they're not in quite like the same industry of like 100-unit apartment buildings. Like that's more their focus, was the smaller multifamily. But yeah, so that's the group that I was a part of, or that I am a part of.
Okay. And to that point, you mentioned wanting to go big, and we talked a little bit about this before, but the small multis, right, they need some love too, man. Like the duplex, triplex, quadplex. Is that something that potentially is on the horizon with talking to the group? Or is it like, hey, I need to go 5+ or bust?
Oh, no. I mean, I'm definitely open to like residential multifamily properties, like duplexes to fourplexes. The reason, the tendency to lean, bigger is just because when I think about it, it's not, I can't, take credit for this line of thinking, but I read like a Grant Cardone book, which I would highly recommend, is like the How to Create Wealth Investing in Real Estate. That's a great one. And then the 10X Rule is also a great book. That one helps you think real big. So both of those books, the second one, the first one I mentioned, it's this one, is what it looks like, right? How to start investing in real estate. He makes a very good point that it's not necessarily easier to start with a smaller property, right? Because if you're like a manager for like a smaller property, then like, you're responding to like the toilets, tenants, and termites, like the three T's they talks about. But my wanting to go big is because apartment buildings, most of the time, they usually come with a property management company on site, right? That's included as part of the costs. And the biggest thing is that, so say in like a duplex or like a triplex or, quadplex, if say you got a fourplex and one of the tenants like moves out or breaks the lease or something, like 25% of your revenue is gone. And so the more units that you have, the more doors that you have, the less of like a hit it is when there's vacancies. And so I was like, that's, a very good point. And so if I can find a money partner that's willing to have a unit with a lot of or a property with a lot of units with a lot of doors in it, then that would be something that kind of, makes sure that we're cash flowing every month. And also just like the type of property looking into right now is like B and C class property. So like value add for, to be able to put some TLC into the property and then refinance within like 3 to 5 years. And then, get like nice cash out payoff, either the seller or the private lender, whoever put down a down payment for me at the time. So yeah, that's kind of like the thinking is why I want to go bigger, is because it makes a lot of good points is about like, it's actually not necessarily harder to manage a bigger property because there's these benefits that come with it. Whereas like you might have to be more attentive to a smaller property.
This is true. Economies of scale, right? When I had, 1 or 2 short-term rentals, it was, hey, it's all you, right? Now that we have 15 under management and I got 4, it's like, okay, now there's team members to where, if there's a leak or something, I'm passing it to a team member and I'm kind of just, chill it out, right? Which is awesome. That's where we kind of want to be. But to your point, I love the strategy of looking for a partner, right? Because it sounds like you're willing and able to be kind of that sweat equity partner. Because when you look at the B's and C's, I mean, I did that, right? I did a 12 unit in Louisville that was for $500K, right? Which was an amazing deal. But man, we had bed bug issues that cost about $8,000 per building. We had issues, had to replace all the roofs, all the gutters. It was a lot of capital out. And then when there was a turnover, it was like a good amount of money to get those units up and running. And when there was 2 turnovers, it's a heck of a lot of money. And so to that point, it can take a lot out of you if you don't have somebody that's willing to be kind of boots on the ground and another person that's willing to see the bigger vision. Looking back, it was hella worth it because now we're able to go bigger and better because I've been through that process before. And when we turned it around and sold it, walked away with, multiple 6-figure check, right? Which was awesome. But it does take a little bit of patience and a lot of sweat equity to kind of make it happen in the B's and C's, really the C's. But Eric,
good.
How is the house coming? I've been waiting to see the pictures. I've been waiting to see the link go live and where we at, man?
Yeah, I've been kind of slow on getting it set up, so it's still coming together. But hopefully, I'll try to have it done by next Friday at least.
On a complete side note, Alpha is trying to buy it from you already. So hey, don't let Alpha see it. All right, don't let him see the link.
Eric got my favorite house.
Yeah, he is. yeah. No, and Eric. And we were talking about it a little bit this past weekend, Alpha, but Eric actually sent me a link in an article to ChatGPT, and I've been playing around with it now. And dude, that thing is incredible. I'm actually going to start using it to write like the copyright on, I don't know if you guys do that, but I just put in a couple minor criteria. I put like an address. Hey, here goes kind of some of the features, and it spit out a whole description. I'm like, hey, this could be used. Eric, have you had any more use with that ChatGPT?
No, I was thinking of, to your point, using it for like the listing, the Airbnb. I tried for that, but I just used it for my work. Like I had to do a presentation about comparing some tools, different software tools. And so I just told it like, give me a chart of the benefits for these tools. And these are the features I want you to talk about like for it. And I was able to give me like, at least start it.
That's incredible. Literally earlier today, I was having a conversation, with interest rates changing, like there used to be a figure in my head of, hey, 10K, would equal about an extra $10 to $15 per month, right? And so it's easier to explain in pictures to someone like, hey, we're arguing over 3K, but this equates to like $3, right? per month. So is the house worth it or not? I just asked it a very complex question. I said, hey, 10K at a 7% interest rate amortized over 30 years, what does that equal on a monthly payment? And it literally worked through that in less than 30 seconds. And no lie, it spit out an answer, and I can check this out now. So 10K at 7% amortized over 30 years equals $35.79 approximately per month. That's pretty incredible. That stuff I would have to like go through a calculator and kind of, type it out and figure that whole piece out to be able to explain to somebody. Now I could just ask this machine, I've got my figures, and now we can just go off to the races, which is pretty incredible. Somebody just said, just download the 10X rule after hearing that. What are you using? What machine? Thank you, Eric, for that. ChatGPT. Fair enough.
General question. Number one thing you wish you knew when you're getting started that you didn't know, or that like surprised you,
Alpha, what you got?
Number one thing I wish I knew. I'm still trying to figure out what I didn't know. I bought my first property recently, and there's been a couple of issues here and there. I'm still trying to figure out exactly. I might have not did anything wrong, but I do think some things can always be kind of prevented or fixed up, and I still haven't figured out my lesson. So I've been trying to mastermind with Niyi every time I speak to him. Like, maybe because it was an old house, maybe because it was a former C-class neighborhood, or maybe I didn't vet the flipper, or like what signs could I have seen to avoid some issues that I have had with my property. So I'm still working on it. Maybe in about a year I'll probably know, but as of now, still a mystery.
Eric, what you got?
I don't know if it's necessarily one thing. I think, like, at least for setting up this first house, I think there was like 100 different things I didn't know how to do. I think, but it's given just get the mindset of like, there's a lot of different things, but you just got to work through all of them. And then the next house that, I buy that I do, you've learned all these things. You did like one rep, and then, the next one's going to be like a lot easier for that. So that's just my mindset going forward. So just get started, because you're not going to know that. You're just going to have to figure stuff out.
And along those lines, I think for me, it's just realizing that this is a journey, right? And it's a long journey. It's not, hey, this one house is going to be the whole focus. It's this one house is going to teach me lessons to get to the next house and the next and the next. And when I look back and I see the forest from the trees, and Alpha's going to laugh because I say this all the time, but when I look back and I see the forest from the trees, it's all worth it. And the piece that keeps me going and keeps me energized is I've been through the full cycle on two different kind of properties. One, a commercial 12 unit, right, where we owned it for 4.5 years. The other, a small multifamily, a triplex, the first house I bought, where I owned it for 5 years, right? That first triplex, I bought it for $190 in 2016, lived in one unit, rented the other two out. And it was a couple headaches, man. Like I had 2 inherited tenants, and those tenants were not the best. And then when one moved out, I had to rip out all the carpet, kind of update all this stuff. I was paying for things I couldn't even, fathom. And it was all just running away. But then after that first year, most of the units were upgraded, updated, and kind of, settled in. And all of a sudden, the rents just kept increasing year to year. So I went from the first year making $2,200 a month when I moved out to making $2,850 in the 4th year that I owned it. And at that point, it's like, man, the mortgage is still the same. The tenants, I had one tenant that stayed with us the whole time I owned it. The only reason they moved is when we sold it. They're like, hey, we're going to go buy a house now too. And so long story short, when you take a longer term view, the key to being successful in this game is to get in as soon as you can and then be consistent. One deal is not going to set you, out for life. But if you keep buying one deal here, one deal there, and just stay consistent with it, that's really how you get to success in this game.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I really appreciate all you guys' advice. And that's exactly what I'm here to do, is get started. So.
Absolutely. We have a couple questions in the chat. One question, how do you take payment from your direct booking site since Hospitable doesn't allow it? And so Hospitable doesn't currently allow taking direct payments, but they're working on Stripe integration. And when that takes place, it's supposed to come. They keep saying like every month it's coming soon. But when that does come, we're going to be able to take payments directly on Hospitable, which is a guest management site for short-term rentals. But for right now, what I do is when somebody sends a direct booking request, it gives you their phone number and their email address. And so I use my QuickBooks software to email them an invoice. And I just message them and say, hey guys, once you pay the invoice, we'll confirm your booking. They pay the invoice via QuickBooks, and then we confirm their booking. It's going to be a lot easier after that integration comes, because then they can just pay, confirm it all in one. And then the other question is, when do you think it's a good time to buy your second house? At what point do you decide, after you paid off all the debt on the first one, started making profit from the first one, what point do you buy your second house? And in my mind, the point to buy your second house, especially if you're just getting started, well, 2 things. One, you don't have to rush it, right? The best thing out there is the house hack. Being able to put down 5% or less to buy a home is, it's amazing, right? And so if you're able to do that once a year and you do that consistently for 5 to 10 years, you're going to be financially free, right? That home is going to continue to appreciate in value as long as you're hanging on to it and run the numbers correctly. It's going to be pretty solid, and you can do it that way. I think anything on top of that is extra and just going to speed you along. And so the first house I bought was a house hack, right? The next thing I bought, because there weren't any house hacks where I moved to that made any sense, because I moved to Boston, it was too expensive, was the 12 unit, right? And I partnered with somebody to buy that. But the whole point, I was able to feel comfortable buying that 12 unit and really being able to leverage that experience to pull in a partner was because I bought that first triplex. And so everybody's path is going to be different. I would say if you're able to pull together the funds, which to buy a second house less than a year without using a house hack is going to cost you anywhere from 15 to 20% of the purchase price, sure, go ahead, pull the trigger, as long as you feel comfortable with the lessons that you've learned and are able to implement that to do better on the next one. Any thoughts or comments on that?
I wanted to ask, what are some of the things that you look for? I know you look for in-law suites, but in specific, when you're looking at houses for your clients, how do you evaluate the houses, and what are some of the things that you look at scrolling down Zillow or the MLS?
Yeah, so I'm always looking for something that's house hackable, right? That's a huge thing for me. So single families with in-law suites, duplex, triplex, quadplex. But then because ATL is not as expensive as some of the cities I've lived in, I'm also looking for homes that are fully renovated if possible, right? Ones where you could just move in and hopefully, and I say hopefully because I know there's been a lot that's going on right now, but hopefully not have as many issues as a home that's going to need a full gut rehab, right? And so depending on the client, especially if they're newer, would like to eliminate some of the variables that can happen. There's a lot of newer clients that read like David Green's BRRRR book, and they're like, hey, I want to jump in there and go do a BRRRR. I'm like, guys, if this was 2 years ago, sure, right? It's going up, 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 up. You've got a lot of things and wind at your back. But right now, with the values declining or remaining steady, you've really got to have a team that's locked in and have some experience in this. And so, I'd push people more toward, hey, let's get something that's already renovated so you can get the learnings of just managing tenants, managing guests, however you're going to do that, and then kind of stack on top of that. For example, like the first flip that I was involved in was 4.5, 5 years into my investing career, right? Because I was like so focused on just buy and hold, update this unit, update that unit, not do a full gut rehab flip or even invest in that. And then I built up the muscle and kind of the context to be able to take that next step and start investing in those and start seeking high value adds. But to answer your question, Alpha, each client is different. I like having an initial conversation just to talk through kind of what you're trying to accomplish and then start to work from that piece.
I guess a couple questions. The first one would just be like, what kind of investing do you guys, what is your plan of attack? Like, what do you guys do? Because I know, Alpha, you had mentioned that you had just bought your first house. And then I think I had heard you guys, Eric and Niyi, talking about, some STR stuff. So what is like you guys like game plans when you're investing? Just kind of want to hear where everybody's at in the room.
Eric, you want to take it away first?
Yeah, I can go first. So I just bought like a house hack. It's like a 5-bedroom house. I'm going to plan to rent like the 3-2 on top and live in the 2-1 on the bottom part. So that's just starting. I'm still getting all the furniture in for that. But I guess other than that, while I'm just trying to set that up, I've been trying to look into notes more actually for that. I think with like the interest rates being so high, I think it might make sense to be on like the debt side of it sometime. But a lot of that space, I think it seems to be a lot smaller and it's like more niche. So like, I don't think finding notes is accessible as like just finding the houses, like you can just go into the MLS and anybody can see everything, but I don't think it's the same for the notes trade.
So as for me, currently right now I just bought my first house. I'm doing a house hack also with a short-term rental upstairs and living downstairs. Before that, I had a couple other short-term rentals here in Atlanta and then one outside the country that I kind of ran for about 1.5 years before I decided to do the owner-occupied route. So that's kind of my investing journey. I'm looking forward to buying a house this year and also getting involved in a multifamily property deal this year also. And besides that, I'm not sure if you guys know what I did. 1.5 years ago, I moved a lot of my excess funds to Bread Savings. At that point, they was doing it's a high yield savings account. At that point, they was doing about 1%. but currently they're doing about 4%. A lot of high yield savings accounts are doing 3 to 4%. So if you have a lot of excess funds, I highly recommend Bread Savings. And if you want a more national bank, maybe Capital One or Discover, they're also doing 3.3. So because I know you spoke about notes and kind of those interest rates. But yeah, mainly just buying stocks monthly, buying a little bit of crypto here and there, watching it go down, and then real estate.
Is it spelled bread like actual bread?
It was originally it was called Community Bank Direct. That's who they're under, but the app is now called Bread Savings. So it's under Bread Financial, and then Bread Savings. They are FDIC insured.
That was my next question, man.
FDIC insured, and they're doing really it's 3.992, but that's 4%. So yeah, and like I've been getting. Obviously, it's only 4%, but you know, when you're watching your money just sit there and make money, it's like, you know what? Maybe these interest rates aren't too bad.
No, that is fire. I love that. I'm using Capital One 360, and the only reason I use it is because literally back in high school, my economics teacher forced everybody to open one because he's like, hey, you need like a high yield online savings, whatever. And, you know, it was the only other bank I had. So I used it, and now I get it. Looking back, I'm like, oh, man, this is great. But it's definitely not doing 4%. I think it's doing, you know, maybe closer to 2 or 2.5, something like that. I got to actually check. I haven't looked in a while. But that's awesome.
They're actually doing 3.3, so it ain't terrible.
Really?
No.
Okay.
Not for the checking account. Maybe the savings account's doing 3.3, but Bread is doing 4. And they're one of the higher ones, but you know, I don't like banks when they get too small because I don't need to lose all of my money. So I'm like, this bank is pretty big. They've been around for a while, and 4% is solid. Especially
when you said the FDIC, that's when I was like, all right, cool. You know, I don't want to be in one of those banks that goes under and all of a sudden all the money's gone. You know, like, hey, what happened? It's a big deal. Franz, how you doing, man?
Hey, how's it going?
Super good. Super good. And how are you feeling a little over 3 weeks, well, a little under 3 weeks away from closing on a house hack?
I'm feeling good. Super nervous, of course. I think everyone who's about to buy a house and spend the amount of money that we're spending on it will be nervous, but super excited for, like you're mentioning earlier, the lessons that I'm going to learn from it, and just looking forward to diving into it. So definitely this is my first time calling in, so super excited to meet everyone, and I'm looking forward to learning from everyone as well as you know.
And Franz, one of the things that we do whenever anybody calls in is we put you on the spot for a little bit. David was already on the spot earlier, but can you talk through just a little bit of your investing career? I know you've done a different kind of house hack, right? But can you talk through a little bit of your investing career and then also some of your future goals from an investing standpoint?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely new to real estate. I started, I want to say 2020. I think I picked up like a book or heard Bigger Pockets, and I started driving around for dollars. I found a house that was super vacant, overgrown grass, like what you would expect for a house that's vacant, the grass, as well as like, you know, mail and everything. Called the seller or the homeowner, found out his whole story, ended up being a 2-year subject to situation there. So that was really cool. We actually sold it last month. So that was really cool. And then just kind of really dove into real estate. Last year, I did my first wholesale deal. So that was really cool. What it was for me, it was a proof of concept, right? To see that it actually works and it's real. So on my wall in my office, you'll see like a check for like 20 grand on there. Because for me, it wasn't possible, right? Until like I went to that closing table and like they handed me a check and I'm just like, this is real. And then 2021 is when I got my first property. It was a 2.5 with a loft, and we converted the loft into a 4th bedroom and rented out all the rooms on Airbnb. Like I was mentioning to you, it was a different experience living with people as you're renting it out. Saw a lot of things, you know, people peeing in cups and like just leaving the cups around, like people yelling in the backyard and all these sort of things. I remember this one girl brought a random cat over and she just like brought it into her room playing bongos at like 2 a.m. So we moved away from that, and that's the reason why I wanted to do this current property that we're about to close on, which is where the upstairs is going to be rented and we're going to be living downstairs. So that kind of my journey. I've just been hopping into different things, kind of seeing what I do like. One thing I do like is swinging hammers and like and fixing stuff. So that's really cool. But during the daytime, I work as a software engineer behind a computer. So that's really cool as well. And as far as like the future goals, it's really just to keep buying single family homes and building up from there. I plan on doing some more wholesales and seeing that more proof of concept and streamlining that process.
Franz, we appreciate you. That was highly entertaining, and we're happy that you were able to kind of figure out things that you don't like, right? And
Sure.
and kind of slide into, hey, this is what I do like, getting something a little more comfortable where we have some separation. But
Yeah.
along the way, you've still been building, right? And you do have the house that you have right now, and you can keep the house. And now you're getting
Yeah.
another one and
Yeah.
another one. And I'm sure you've seen value increase over time with some of these houses that you've bought as well.
For sure.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And David, to answer your question from previously, I know Eric and Alpha did. My strategy has evolved over time, and now it's kind of like I look at different markets and have a different strategy for each. And so I started investing in Louisville, Kentucky, because I lived there for 15 months and it was cheap. And it was probably a good thing that I was stationed down there, because if I was in Atlanta, then I would have spent a lot of money and probably not saved it. So in Louisville, I was able to start investing, and I was able to build it up to about 25 units. It was all small multifamily, or, that commercial deal for the 12 units, right? And just cash flow deals. It wasn't really much for appreciation, because Louisville at the time was not an appreciation market. It was just slow and steady. But you could get that 1% rule. You can get 1.25%. You can even get 1.5% at times. And so when I moved up to Boston, one of the things that I was doing was I bought a condo and actually did kind of what Franz was doing, because that's the only way I could make it work. I had roommates, right? I had 2 roommates to begin with, and then I shifted down to 1 because I was like, hey, 2 is crazy. And it helped reduce a bit of my cost. And Boston is a high appreciation market. It's not one that you think about when you talk about most expensive cities in the US, but it's top 5 on any list. Like literally you got Seattle, Hawaii, New York, LA, but Boston's there. They are in there. And so that house that I bought, I only owned it for about 18 months, that condo, and it appreciated about 40 or 50K in value. And so when I sold that and moved to Atlanta, I was able to put all that equity into a house hack here. And when I moved here, I had a lot of friends across the nation that were doing the short-term rentals out in Texas and Chicago. And they kept mentioning like, Niyi, you got to try this. You got to get into this. You got to try this. And for me, I was always like, I don't know. What if people don't stay there? What if this doesn't work out? And so I made a decision that, hey, I'm going to try this thing out, right? Let me go buy a house hack so I can try it out with training wheels, quote unquote. And so I bought a single family with the in-law suite, and I put a kitchenette into that in-law suite. And I said, you know what? Running the numbers, this thing could rent for about $1,500 a month as a long-term rental. And if the short-term rental thing doesn't work out, or I can pull in $1,500 a month, I'm good to go, right? I'm good covering the rest of it. It's A-okay. And what I found is on average, I've been pulling in $2,500 a month in that unit, and it was off to the races from there. I found a passion for this, and now I've built up to 4 units short-term rentals out here. And what I like about it is it allows you to buy homes that are in amazing neighborhoods that are continuing to appreciate and make them cash flow. For example, I bought a house in East Atlanta Village for $460K in 2021, August. And this home, if I were to rent it for a long-term rental at that time, would have rented for about $2,500 a month, which doesn't make any financial sense. That same home on Airbnb and VRBO and those sites has been renting for between $3,000 and $6,300 a month. With this past summer, right, those 4 months of May through September, it didn't go less than $6,000, right? And so I've been cash flowing, but the best thing about it is because the neighborhood it's in and where I was able to buy it and its proximity to, Beltline, things of that nature, the home's appreciated from $460 to now it's worth $575. So I could either refinance, pull some cash out, I could get my PMI taken off, or if I wanted to sell it, even in this market, I could list it for $550 and get multiple offers because of where it's located and just the value that's grown into it. And so that's what I see as the main benefit for that. But long story short, Louisville is more cash flow. Atlanta, I'm looking more to get as many plots of land as I can because 30 of the Fortune 1000 companies are based here. Microsoft put their East Coast headquarters here. Nike put their tech hub here. Airbnb put their East Coast headquarters here. There's a reason they're all moving here, right? Salesforce is here. The film industry, this is the Hollywood of the East. And so the more plots of land you can get and have that value continue to increase over time, that's what I'm trying to do out here. And then in Louisville, I'm actually working on a syndicate deal which I haven't mentioned in a while because it takes a lot longer than you would think, and it's a lot more expensive than you would think. But to build 105 townhome units and a little over 200 now storage units. So we're still working on that piece. It's moving a little slower than expected, but we're still breaking ground this year.
Question
Please.
for you. And at what point would you make that jump? And you said you can possibly refinance and because of that higher amount. When would you do that? Like, when would it be advantageous to do something like that?
For me, I'm always looking at the numbers, right? From a refinance standpoint, I'd rather just leave that value in locked in at, I think I got like a 4.25 interest rate, and my mortgage is like 2,700, right? If I refinance now, it's going to jump up significantly, and it's going to eat away a lot of that cash flow that I have. And so what I look at it is like, hey, if I leave this the same, do I have other income from other sources that I can use to continue investing? If yes, okay, no need to touch that. If I didn't and I saw a really good deal, sure, I can tap into that, refinance, and kind of pull it out. That's one thing I think about. The other piece is I mentioned that the long-term rental for that piece, for that home, was $2,500 in August of 2021. Now it's increased to about $3,000. And I know that to be true because a 2-bed, 2-bath rented for $2,700 right down the street like a couple months ago. And so once that long-term rental amount gets up to like 35, 36, 37, to where it could cover, right, a refinance debt, I may consider it. Pull that money out and go buy another plot of land. And Tarsha has done all the research we need on a Marcus online savings account. We appreciate you.
Yeah, I don't know how I did this, but I think I changed my name to a message I meant to send. But yes, I also have a Marcus account, and it's like 3.3. Yeah, 3.3. So I don't know how to change my name back. I'm not exactly sure what happened there. So
Yeah,
David, we know your name, man.
I read it a couple of times. I was like, "Damn, he really wants us to know he has a Marcus."
yeah, because I put it like in the chat, and then it just didn't show up. I was like, what? So then I tried to change my name back, and then it just sends the whole message with like, I don't know. Yeah, I guess, for me is does anybody in here do multifamily as well, or just is it mainly like single family house hacking type of stuff?
For the most part, I think it's smaller right now, right?
Mm.
I'm working on the multifamily piece, but believe me, this is going to be a longer term project. I realize that there's going to be a lot of money put into this for the first couple of years, and that the return's not going to really come until like 3 to 5 years from now. But yeah, and we got Monica. And Monica, if you're able to join, I think if you hit like chat live or something like that, live call in, we can pull you in so you can talk about your multifamily. But that's the piece I'm working on. That 100 unit, as well as the storage, is my first foray into big multifamily. The biggest I've done before that was 12 units, right? But they say if you can do 10 units, you can do 100. So if you can do 12, you can do 105, right? It's similar process, just bigger dollars, more economies of scale, and more individuals involved.
And also, do you guys meet every Wednesday, or is this just like
Every Wednesday?
Every Wednesday? Okay. Cool. Yeah. No.
Every Wednesday,
I
and we
really appreciate the opportunity to be here and just kind of hear about you guys' experiences. And I'd love to come back and I have some other friends that are interested in learning more about that are in Atlanta and are interested in real estate too. If they're also welcome to come.
Absolutely. We keep this open. It's almost like a group therapy session at times, right? Because there are things that happen in real estate, but it does keep you motivated, keep you affixed on the bigger picture. And that's the key, right? The key is to see the forest from the trees, keep advancing forward, keep taking baby steps each day. And eventually you're going to be able to get to that financial freedom. But before we jump, I want to kick it over to Monica, if we can. It says your browser's not supported. Are you using Chrome, Monica? Fair enough. We can hear you. But you mentioned that you're doing some multifamily in New York.
There's no such thing as a bad asset or bad deal. It's just bad prices. If you get a house that's burned to the ground for $1, it's still a good price. So you're absolutely right. If you get something low enough, even if you get a bunch of rocks for 25 cents, this was you can sell the rocks for more than 25 cents. So yeah, buying it at a good price is really good. And I've heard about somebody buying a piece of land out in Woodstock. He was my property manager for my old building. He bought it for like $25K, decided to post it for like $125. ended up selling it for 105. And it just sounded too crazy to me, so I just kind of said, okay, whatever, threw it back in my head. But you just did the same thing, so that's interesting. But yeah, you're right, bad prices.